All right, welcome back. Hononegah Honors, Algebra 2. Section 8.2, we're going to talk specifically about an arithmetic sequence and series. So no longer is it going to be random. We're now talking about a very specific series. So an arithmetic sequence is the difference of consecutive terms is constant. This constant difference is called the common difference. So basically what it's saying is you're adding or subtracting the same number each time. That is an arithmetic sequence, so a pattern of numbers. So now 1, 5, 10, 16, 23. Is this arithmetic? Well, you're adding 4 the first time, 5 the second time, 6 the third time, and 7 the next time. So even though it is a pattern, but because you are adding a different number, remember that number, it needs to be constant that you're adding each time. This is not arithmetic. So it is a pattern, just not an arithmetic pattern. So the next one, you're subtracting 3 each time. So yes, this would be arithmetic with a common difference of -3. There's two things that we're getting, or there's a couple things we're going to talk about. One is the rule for an arithmetic sequence. There's a formula that we will give you. You do not have to memorize this formula, but a formula that we'll give you in which an arithmetic sequence, the only two values that you need to know when writing an arithmetic sequence is what is a sub 1 and what is d. Now, with that being said, I'm going to manipulate this. I'm going to make it more challenging, but the only thing that you need to always determine is what is a sub 1 and what is d. So if you know those two things, you can write an arithmetic sequence, a model or a rule for an arithmetic sequence. So in this case, write the rule. I know a sub 1, it's given to me. And d I can calculate, in this case it's adding 3 each time. So the formula that you will be given is a sub 1 plus n minus 1d. So a sub n equals a sub 1 n minus 1d. Distribute the d and add like terms. So the rule for this particular sequence is a sub n equals 3n plus 4. Now they want me to find a specific term in the sequence. So a sub 15, we're going to plug 15 in for n. And so a sub 15 is 49. So again, write the rule and find a specific term. Again, we know a sub 1. So a sub 1 is 15. Common difference, it's subtracting 7 each time. So a sub n, equals a sub 1, n minus 1d. I'm going to distribute my d and add like terms. So there's my a sub n. Now I'm going to plug 15 in for n. So -7 times 15 is -105 plus 22. So a sub 15 is -83. Next one. One term in the arithmetic sequence is a sub 12 is 52. The common difference d is 16. Write the rule. So if you remember right, I told you that the two things you need to know to write the rule is what is a sub 1 and what is d. Well, they didn't give that to me. They gave me d, and then they gave me another term, not a sub 1. So that term, a sub 12 equaling 52, tells me a couple of things, though. It does tell me that when I put 12 in for n, I get 52. So if I put 12 in for a sub n, I get 52. Well, I can actually calculate then what a sub n would be, or excuse me, what a sub 1 would be for this particular situation. So a sub 1 is -14. Well, now that I know a sub 1, and I already knew what d was, I now can write my rule. So a sub n equals -14, n minus 1, d. Distribute the n, distribute the d, and add like terms. Then it says, then graph the first 6 terms. I'm not going to graph it, but I'm going to label it, or I'm going to, so what happens when I put 1 in for n? I get negative 14. What happens when I put 2 in? I get negative 8. And 3 in, I get negative 2. And 4 in, I get positive 4. And 5, I get 10. And 6, I get 16. So again, I can graph those. Now, those are going to be individual dots. I talked about this a little bit in section 6 or section 8.1. They're going to be discrete, meaning you're not going to be connected. So when I graph the point 1, negative 14, then I graph the point 2, negative 8, I'm not going to connect all these dots. 2 terms of an arithmetic sequence. So now they're not giving me D, and they are not giving me a sub 1. So when I'm trying to write my rule, I'm a little lacking in information right now. Here's what they gave me, though. The 5th number in the sequence is negative 43. So negative 43, a sub 1, and it's the 5th number in the sequence, D. So this would be a sub 1 plus 4D. The next one, a sub 12. So negative 8 would equal a sub 1. I still don't know that one. But I do know n for this one. So 12 minus 1D. A sub 1 plus 11D. Now, you'll notice that I wrote 2 different equations, one for the first one and one for the second one. Now, wait a minute. 2 equations with 2 unknowns. I could, let's say, multiply this by negative 1 and do elimination. So 7D would equal, if I crossed off the a sub 1s now, 35, which means D is 5. I go back, and if D is 5, so I put 5 in for D, a sub 1 must be negative 23, and now I do have enough information to write my equation, write my rule. A sub n would equal a sub 1, n minus 1D, distribute, and add like terms. Next, if you remember in section 8.1, we talked about a series. A series is a situation in which you're going to add. Now, it has to be a finite arithmetic series, because if it was infinite, the next number would add another number, or it'd add another element to it, and it would never stop. So I add the next term, it would go up. If I add the next term, it would go up again, and so on. Now, the sum, here's a formula that I will give you, S sub n, so the sum formula. All you need in order to know the sum formula is how many terms are you talking about, so n terms, what is a sub 1, and what is the last term of the sequence. So the first term of the sequence, the last term of the sequence, and the number of terms we're talking about. So S sub n is the mean of the first and nth term multiplied by the number of terms. So a sub 1, if I want to find the sum of an arithmetic sequence, I need a sub 1, or the first term in the sequence. I need the last term in the sequence, and I need to know how many terms there are. So if I plug 3 in, okay, I realize we're not starting with 1, but if I plug 3 in, I get 12 minus 1, which was 11. So the first term in the sequence is 11. If I put 9 in, 4 times 9 minus 1, I get 35. So that's the last term of the sequence. And how many terms are there? Well, this one's a little bit complicated. There's actually 7 terms, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So it's basically taking the top minus the bottom plus 1. That's how many terms there are in this particular notation. Well, I now have enough information. If you need to go back to the previous page, okay, I'll go back then. The sum formula is n, parentheses a sub 1 plus a sub n times 2. So n, a sub 1 plus a sub n divided by 2. So if there's 7 terms, first term is 11, the last term is 35, divided by 2. So that's 23. And if 23 times 7 is 161. So the sum of the terms, and if you remember right, if you went back to we actually did this question, but we did it by hand. Like we did each term individually in section 8.1, and so now we're doing it using the formula. Camp counselor earns $300 the first week, $350 the second week, $400 the third week, and so on up to 8 weeks. Write the rule for the account the counselor earns for the nth. So I want to write a summation notation equation. So the first week all the way up to the 8th week. And what ends up happening? Well, the first week, so that's a sub 1 and a sub 2, a sub 3. So if you want to, you can actually, so I know a sub 1 and I know d. So a sub n equals a sub 1 plus n minus 1 d. Distribute. So I got to write the rule first. And so I get 250, 50n plus 250. So there's your rule. How much is the counselor going to earn for 7 weeks of summer work? So all they wanted in this one, sorry, is just the rule. So 250 plus 250, 50n plus 250. So the next one, how much money does the counselor earn for 7 weeks of summer work? So they want to know what is a sub 1. So if I plug in a sub 1, it's 300. Common difference is 50. A sub n, so what happens if I put 7 in? So what's the last number in the sequence? So in the last number there, or last one, if I put 7 in for n, I get 600. And so the formula, 7, first number, last number, divided by 2. Using a calculator right now, 300 plus 400 is 900. Divided by 2 would be 450. And then 7 times 450 would be $3,150. Homework assignment is out of the book. If you have any questions on arithmetic sequences and series, please let me know. And good luck.